So I literally just felt like locked away, you know?
In the dungeon.
Exactly. Cinderella vibes.
So today I have Richard here with me, and Richard and I go back
Yes.
to college,
Yes.
Humber College.
Humber College.
We're both in the Child and Youth Worker program. And so I'm there. I'm a newborn photographer now. I've had a personal Instagram page and I canceled it. And I get this message, Kai, do you know how long I've been looking for you? I had a baby and you need to take her pictures. And I was just like, hi, Richard. Like, hi. Yeah. So you were trying to find me.
I was.
For a minute.
Yes, I was.
And then I took pictures of someone that you knew. Mm-hmm. And that's how you found me.
Yes.
And I remember you saying, you know how long I've been looking? My wife was like, give it up now. Like, wrap up. You can't find her.
She was trying to say, let's go to Walmart and take pictures. And I was like, no.
Kim? Walmart?
Yeah,
No. Well, we reunited.
Yeah, we did.
And so, as I said, we both went to school for child and youth worker, but you became a teacher.
Yes.
And did you teach a specific subject? What was your, what do you call it, specialty?
Well, in elementary school, basically you could teach everything besides French. So I taught everything from phys ed to music, science,
I did not know
studies.
that.
Yes. So in elementary school, you don't specialize. It's basically you just have to teach everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you were teaching to the students in Rexdale.
I was, yes.
That's to Rexdale.
That's where I'm from, Rexdale.
And then from Rexdale, you went to Jane and Finch.
Yes.
All right. So tell us a bit about your just teaching career and how that experience was for you.
It was amazing, to be honest. Like I said, I'm from Rexdale.
Yeah.
So I felt like, all the stars just aligned for me to get my first teaching gig in Rexdale to be able to give back to my home students. But with teaching, there's a lot of supply teaching at first you got to do and stuff like that before you can land your contract. And when I landed it was in Jane and Finch. Okay. And I had known nothing about Jane and Finch. I was obviously from Rexdale.
You only heard of Jane and Finch.
Heard it. The two of them are like, they're ops.
Beef.
Right? So going there was a new world for me, but I quickly realized that they're just like the students from Rexdale. Like, big hearts, and oftentimes they don't get the love that they deserve.
And do you think that's because of it being
stigmatized?
Jane and Finch? Yeah.
Absolutely. So went in there. Beverly Heights was my school, and I was just able to make an immediate impact. It's a middle school, grade 6, 7, 8, and I was just able to relate to the kids based on just culture, fashion, music, just our lived experiences. So
even you saying fashion, like for all the TikTokers, you see all the teachers now. This is my fit for today, and I was like, my teachers never looked like that.
Yeah.
My teachers looked nothing like that.
Facts. So
I think that little impact alone is just so relatable for kids. Even my daughter, I remember her coming to home one day. She's in high school, and I believe it was her history teacher, big sneakerhead, and my daughter had on these sneakers, and she was like, my teacher knew my shoes, and it was just so different for her because usually it's like, okay, whatever. So now she was like, I gotta wear these shoes because my teacher knows these shoes, and it was cute. So I definitely understand that relatable field. So why did you choose to not necessarily, because I know with child and youth worker, for myself at least, I have experience in the school, but you're not necessarily a teacher. So what made you drift away from your studies in that and then just
teaching?
Yeah.
So it was my first year. We had placement. You remember we used to do a placement?
Yes.
My first year placement was in a school, which I thought child and youth work was all based around like being in a school. And then I remember having a professor saying that next year your placement will be in a group home. And I was like, wait, hold up, pause, time out.
What?
Flag on the play. But then she was basically hammering home the message like, child and youth workers normally work in group homes, not schools. And I knew that I wanted to work in a school. And also during my placement in that school, I was working with 5 kids. And I was like, there's 395 other students in the school, and I only get to work with 5 of them. So I felt secluded.
How do I reach those other kids?
And on top of that, the school that I was at, the classroom that I was in was in the basement. So I literally just felt like locked away,
in the dungeon.
Exactly. Cinderella vibes. So I was like, no, I got to find a way to pivot where I can still be teaching students, but a collective of like all of them, not just a few. So that was what was the deciding factor in me changing to be a teacher.
And so you're teaching for all these years. At this time, you don't have any little kitties of your own.
Nope.
And then Penny comes along.
Yeah.
So tell us a little story about just your journey as a father, having her being born. She was born a preemie. Yes. Just a little bit of that experience, and then we'll move on to the next question I have for you.
Okay. So it was amazing. It was, as a teacher, like all my students were my kids all the time. Like we just connected in various ways. So I'd always just refer to them as my kids, but like you said, I never had that connection to just having this child that I've seen from conception to birth, right? My wife, when I met her, she had a little one that I've raised, so that's my child as well. But I haven't seen
from the beginning.
Yeah. So Penny was. I always knew that I wanted to have a daughter. I didn't know in what order.
Okay. But you knew you wanted a girl in the mix.
Yes. And through reading a story to my classroom, this story called Out of My Mind. It's a Black author. Her name's Sharon Draper. The main character, her name is Melody. It's actually on Disney Plus now, but the story's better. She is a quadriplegic, and she is not able to speak. So you're only hearing her thoughts. And then her parents get pregnant, and they have this. She has a little sister that she thinks is perfect, and her name is Penny. So I always was like, when I have a daughter, I want Penny, right? And Kim just was like, yeah, I agree with the name.
Yeah.
And then she came in crazy fashion. Like, I just want to be here. I need to be here
I'm waiting for nothing.
Yeah, so she was born early. She was born at 29 weeks and 6 days, I believe. So just under shy of 30 weeks. And she had to spend quite a few weeks in the NICU. I think she was there for 59 days.
Damn.
Right?
And how much was she? Sorry, how much did she weigh at birth?
She was 2 pounds 12 ounces. Yeah. So she wasn't small, tiny.
But she was small.
But she was small, And I remember just looking at her, not being able to hold her. That was, I think, probably the hardest part.
Yeah, because your firstborn.
And I'm not able to hold her and stuff like that. Right at first, and then a few days later, I was able to do skin to skin and stuff like that. So. But she's been a fighter and very perseverant, and she was able to overcome a lot of the obstacles.
Yeah.
And she's 5 years old now, and
Penny. She's adorable.
She's feisty. She's super smart.
She's so articulate.
Very articulate. So but yeah, it was an amazing journey to see from, again, conception to where she is now. And my students at school were so, the year that she was born, they knew that she was a preemie. So we had this code between my wife and I was like, text me all you want, but if you call me, I know that there's a problem. And my students knew that if
you got that call,
they knew what to do, to go across the hall to tell the teacher, one was going to go down the hall to the principal. My kids, like my students, bought her like baby powder and preemie outfits and stuff. And that year was a class basically full of boys.
Really?
Yeah, and they were like so in touch with.
They came through for you.
So yeah, it was amazing.
That must be like special. Not only are you experiencing this with your wife, you're literally experiencing with your students, which are like your external children.
Absolutely.
I love that. Yeah. And then Penny comes. And now you have a daughter in the school field. Does that change your perspective in any way of how maybe you teach, of things that you find maybe you would be like, as a teacher, okay, but now as a parent, it's like, hold up.
So, absolutely. Like, because there's always, whether it's like even giving out instructions, whether it's doing things, now I'm like really thinking about how would I want this to happen for my daughter in school, right? So I'm making sure that I'm taking the time to do things in a way that I would want my daughter's teacher to do things for her, right? So I'm really thinking about that all the time. It's at the front of my mind as opposed to being at the back of my mind, So even things like with coaching, I used to coach. Sometimes I'll be coming home at 7 p.m.
Yeah.
And that's because Kim would be home, or Amor was old enough to kind of
help
handle
out.
herself, right? But now it's like I'm coaching. Okay, I'm looking at my watch. Like, guys, I gotta be out of here 4 o'clock because
I gotta go.
I gotta go pick up Penny, you know, so or whatever the case may be. So there hasn't been a big shift, in the sense where like I'm more aware, but the love is still
there.
Yeah.
I definitely agree with you in the sense of before having children, because like you said for teacher, but even in the work field, it's like you're working, okay, whatever. But now when you got kids, I'm looking at them like, yo, I'm out 5 o'clock, actually 4:58, I'm out.
Yeah,
and they're looking at you like, I don't care about your meeting because y'all ain't paying for daycare when it's past 6 o'clock and it's $1 a minute.
Facts.
So I'm out.
Facts.
I'm going for my youth.
Facts. I remember like we used to have, well, we still, teachers are required to have one staff meeting a month.
Okay.
It's in the contracts, the union contracts or whatever. But the staff meeting has to go 75 minutes. It can go over, but 75 minutes
minimum.
Is you know, so from the time it starts, I'm setting a timer on my watch now. And I remember before I used to see this one teacher in particular, from the time it got to a certain time, I was her pushing in her chair and she's gone. Now I'm doing the same thing, you know. So like, I
got to go.
If the meeting's done, great. If it's not done,
catch me up tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm gone. Send an email. Wrap it up.
But I do think though, like some people are fortunate to have a job that understands that, and some people are definitely do not have any type of support when it comes to this is what I have to do, or I have my kids, or like for example, you said you have your wife and you have Amora that's a little older now, is able to help out. But for like a single mom, and it's like, no, I have to go. We shouldn't have to choose between our job and our youth then, because no way. Gerda, number one, I pick me youth every day.
All the time, because the job is going to replace you no matter what.
In a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm glad we know this. Yeah. So you teach, and did you ever teach high school kids or always elementary?
So I've only taught in the classroom elementary, but towards the end of my 10 years in classroom, I took a different position where I was able to support high school students.
How did you like that?
It was great because basically this position it put me at something called the system level. So I removed myself from the classroom, and basically now I was able to support a few different schools with like the success in middle school and their transition to high school, and it allowed me to even follow some of the kids to high school.
So is it more like one-on-one type of work, or is it?
It was kind of like guidance counseling.
Okay.
Yes. So I was seeing a bunch of students and just helping them come up with skills and things that they could do to become successful in high school.
Love that.
That transition. Yeah.
And then you leave the school system. Well, you leave, but you don't leave.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit of your beautiful program called Math Skills.
Yes. So going back to that systems level, it allowed me to be in different schools and see what was really happening. And that opened my eyes. Because in my school at Beverly Heights, we had an amazing principal that was kind of like 5 years ahead of the game with everything. So
that makes a big difference. Absolutely. Who you have running.
Absolutely. So like now like a lot of the focus is on Black student success, looking at Indigenous education, and we were doing that from 2018.
And some schools are just starting now.
Because of George Floyd and stuff. But she was like, "No, we got to be doing this early."
Yeah. Was she a Black woman herself?
She wasn't.
See,
she wasn't.
You just need people to advocate
and to be allies. Absolutely. And she had 3 sons who were all in the arts. They were all musicians, and she was like, "Richard, I know you're a DJ. How can we do anything around that to help our students?" So she was like, "Just tell me what you need and I'll get it." So I was teaching students how to DJ. We built a recording studio. I was teaching students how to record their own songs.
That is and to engineer. Dope.
And it was never a point where it was like, "Richard, we can't do this." She was always like, "Just tell me what I need to do, and I'm gonna do
we'll make it happen."
We'll make it happen. You know, so there were so many students that just got that type of education around things that weren't necessarily connected to the curriculum, but it's because I knew them from basically being a DJ myself, and I was just able to pay it forward, right? And she was just funding everything, and it was through that I realized maybe I could take some of the stuff that I learned from DJing and put it towards my teaching as well. And again, just I'm thinking that all the schools are doing this, Kai.
And you don't know.
And I don't know. I'm thinking that all the schools have this type of good admin where like everything is just flowing and happening. And then I get this other position and I go to these schools and I'm realizing some of them are still using textbooks from 1994, literally.
Okay, can we talk about the textbooks?
You know, like
my daughter's teacher now, they don't even use a textbook. She I was like, how come you never bring home a book? And she said, my teacher said the books are old. The information is no longer valid. She just prints up sheets with what we need. And honestly, I love that.
My principal came into my classroom, and not just mine, all of them, and was taking textbooks and throwing them in the garbage.
As they should.
Because these are the textbooks saying that, you know, the indigenous people and the
all the Christopher Columbus stories.
We're friends. She's like, no, this didn't happen. Throw it out. Throw it out. And, you know, let's teach from a lens of what actually did happen. We have to be aware of like our privilege and our bias and things like that. And these are things that like I said, Kai, I'm thinking that this is happening
everywhere.
All over. And I go into these schools and I realize this is not happening. So again, I'm like, you know, I'm offering these students this great type of supports in my own classroom and even in my school. But the school down the street,
they're not getting it.
And the school beside them, they're not getting it. So I was like, how? But you know, when you're a teacher, like you don't just get the flexibility to just go in and teach other kids like that at different schools, right? You're locked into your school. So I said, you know what? Like I think that in order for me to really make an impact, I'm gonna have to step away from the classroom and be able to go into these different schools as an organization and run programming around the things that we're struggling with, like math, like literacy, whatever the case may be, and help a variety of students, and not just in Toronto, in Peel, in, you know, wherever the case may be.
Yeah.
Right?
Was that a hard decision for you?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, Kai. You know why? There's certainty. You know, I know every 2 weeks
you're getting that paycheck.
Right? It doesn't matter. I'm getting my benefits. I'm getting my sick days, blah, blah, blah. And on top of that, for being, you know, a teacher for so long, like my salary is just increasing, right? And now I'm walking away from all of that and being like, I don't know about when this next paycheck is coming. I don't know how it's going to look. I don't know if these principals are going to want me in their schools.
Life of entrepreneurship.
Right? But it's so fulfilling.
Yeah.
Because it's now, like I said, I'm getting to reach all the students that are going to be able to benefit from the ideas that I have, from being in the field for so long, from the things that I'm doing outside of the classroom that I can bring into the classroom. And we've been in some schools, and the kids, I've realized quickly that there's kids in Peel that are the same as the kids from Jane and Finch that need that type of alternative programming, right? And I'm able to offer that. You know, I'm able to use the skills that I've built and that I've seen into this programming and in the organization. So our organization focuses on skill-based learning.
Yeah.
Like being able to learn through a skill. And we have many programs that basically facilitate that. And it's been amazing.
I love it.
Yeah.
So can you tell me what a session would look like for you? So you go into the schools, obviously you get everything arranged. I've seen you with the students and their DJ equipment. Yeah. So give us a little rundown of what's something you would do when you go into school and you're doing this session with them.
All right. So like you said, the setup is there, you know, and like I said, we offer a variety of programs. So sometimes it might be setting up DJ controllers, sometimes it's setting up mannequins. One of my former students is a program facilitator in the organization, and she teaches kids how to do hair. And she relates it to the health curriculum, mental health. You know, you look good, you feel good, and stuff like that, right?
Good when your hair is freshly cut,
right?
So somebody say you don't feel nice.
Absolutely, you know. And she's in there, the girls are doing the edges, and she's teaching them how to cornrow and feed in braids and knotless braids, stuff like that. Anyways, so based on the program, the setup, you know, might look different. We have one where we connect literacy through podcasting. So we might set up something similar to, like, you know, how it looks here. But basically, we set up in a space that the kids will rotate into. We'll have an hour session, and then they'll rotate out, and another class will rotate in.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how are the kids gravitating to it so far? Because I know for me, if I'm going to school and they're like, yo, you're going to listen, I'm up in there like trying to scratch and all types of foolishness. So.
Absolutely. A kid just last week said the only reason I came to school today is because we had this program.
Doesn't that make you feel good?
It makes me feel amazing, Kai. It makes me feel amazing because this is the reason that I left the classroom. Because again, I wanted to reach these students outside of my immediate reach.
Yeah.
Right? And when I can see that their teachers are saying, you know what, I'm able to now see what they're doing here and provide a mark for them on the report card. It shows that, like, I'm actually able to tap into what they're doing and provide that kind of, again, that extra step in order to help them really understand.
One thing I can say I really love, and it's just to do with our generation and the newer generation, is we think so much out the box now. Like you said, the textbooks being thrown out and all of that. Like, I remember for me going in photography when I started school, of course, I was like, no one told me there was a profession in photography. So I'm like, yeah, I did photography in school, did all the little classes, and it was fun. But when it came time to like post-secondary education, it was like photographer, yo, dash that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So I went to school for child and youth worker. And yes, I love the field, and yes, I learned so much, but as much as I loved it, I don't think it was ever like that passion. It was like, okay, this is next up, but that love for photography was always still there.
Absolutely.
And I feel like now you have teachers advocating for those students. Not everybody's got to be a lawyer, a doctor, a teacher, the everyday regular careers that you hear parents want their students to be. And even like with how the generation is now, everyone's trying to do their own business.
Absolutely.
Nobody know how to work for nobody no more.
I mean, like it's because entrepreneurship is attainable. Now, I remember, so Donald Trump, when he was running for his last term back in, I think, 2016, he said something that stuck with me. And he's like, when I was younger and I want to start a business, I just asked my dad for a cool $1 million loan. I was like, listen.
Who are we asking for?
Dad, I love you, but I don't even think my dad had $1 million
in life.
Like, let alone to loan it to me, But at a point in time, like, we just thought entrepreneurship was so far, like,
it didn't even look like a reality.
It wasn't, right? Because you're thinking like you have to have this brick and mortar place, you have to have all this money behind you, and if anything, technology and time has shown us that like things have evolved to the point where a brick and mortar isn't essential anymore.
Not at all.
Big camera isn't essential anymore. It's like you can literally become an entrepreneur from your living room. And I try to tell kids that like you can take a passion that you have and fuel that passion and become an entrepreneur. Like it's something that we preach all the time, entrepreneurship and hard work and dedication, obviously, but like it's something that's attainable. It's in reach. It's reality. Like look at Kai Cenat and all these streamers.
Yes.
His message in his yearbook was a camera and a dream. His principal laughed at him.
And look at him now.
Like from his living room.
From his living room. And I think another big aspect of that is the support of your parents.
Absolutely.
Big support of your parents, because I mean, I'm not a huge viewer of his, but my daughter is.
Yeah.
And I'll sit with her. She'll be like, Mom, come watch this with me. And I sit there, and there was one I was watching recently, and she was leaving, and she was like, before I leave, I want to let you guys know that my son works hard for this, and he does. And the way she was just speaking on him,
life
like
into him. Right?
Proud, so proud.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times you hear someone might be like, oh yeah, I'm going to be a nail tech. And it's like, okay. And they have their own business, doing it from their home, making mad money.
A former student of mine, this was last year. So last year was my last year in the classroom before I left. I taught her in grade 6 in 2017, 2018. And I brought my kids last year to high school to like, I was taught grade 8 last year. So basically,
the transition, the tours.
Yeah. So she came up to me, she goes, Mr. Lord, she gave me a big hug. She goes, I'm a lash tech now. And I'm like, oh yeah? She goes, yeah, and I'm making more money than my mom. Wow. And she goes, my mom is so supportive. She's telling me I think she said like, I make $2,000 a week. And I was
amazing.
Like, wow. She's 17, 18 at this time in high school. And
amazing.
She was one of the students that had, a support IEP super thick, and they were saying that we don't know what's gonna come of this student because she can't read to this level. She can't do, but she
found something that worked for her.
Absolutely.
Shout out to you wherever you are.
Yes.
Shout out to you.
Yeah.
But I feel like at the end of the day, like you said, this is what you do it for, right? To see these success stories, to let kids know that it's not just A, B, and C.
No.
Go take G, J, H, Z, everything.
Absolutely.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
So before we end off, because I think this program is super amazing. So for any teachers, principals, anyone that might be watching that might want to bring you into the schools, how do they contact you?
So we have a website, Mad Skills, MADD SKILLZ Education.
One more time, just in case. MADD
SKILLZ Education.ca. We're on all socials, MS Education, INC. And they can reach out through there. They can see some of this program that we've done in school. So we've been in Peel, we've been in Toronto, Hamilton, Wentworth. So we're basically just making our way around the GTA.
I love it. And before that, you're going to have to build up your team even more because you're going to be everywhere. And that's the goal.
That's the goal.
We're taking over.
That's the goal.
Mad Skills. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.